What's up, everybody? Hope everybody is well. I am trying a new filter here, so we'll see how it comes out here. So I don't know how much I like it so far. We'll try it a little bit here. Anyway, I hope everybody's well, making your dreams come true, doing all that kind of stuff. I'm on my way to get a quick workout in, and so I wanted to record a quick video while I got some things on my mind here. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Rate, subscribe, share, do all that kind of good stuff. Hit the like button. Hit the like button, please. I would really appreciate it. Share the video. If you have any questions or whatever that you want me to address, hit me up. Hit me up. I'll make sure I get to it. I do have a couple other things that people, suggested that I do, that I am going to make some videos about very, very soon. All right, but this was on my mind here, right? So I'm watching a video, and I will definitely play it right here, about a guy who, in my estimation, is just weak. Coming off as a tough guy, but he's just weak. So here we go.
Fixed. Mr. Pearson, turn a light on. We're conducting business, sir.
I'm listening.
Sit down somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't give me the steak face.
I'm listening to you.
I don't want to talk to you while you walking. You're going to make me dizzy. I said sit down somewhere. You are before the court on a battery family violence case, on another simple battery family violence, and on a striking a fixed object. That's 3 cases, sir.
When all the family violence case supposed to be dropped?
No,
I don't
ma'am.
think they're dropping it.
First of all, if the person you're talking to is the person who is on these cases, then you're going to violate your bond conditions. You're going to get arrested, and you're going to come back and spend time in jail. So whoever
My mama. That's my mama.
well, your mama's not an attorney, so I'm talking to you.
I don't even have no attorney.
You have an attorney. You were given a public defender. So what I want you to do is stop talking, you and your mom.
Wait a minute now. Don't tell me. Now, let me move, cause you
This
going
is
there.
why you got 3 cases. How old are you?
I'm 30.
So you grown and you need to handle your own business.
I can handle my own business. But that's my
All
mama
right.
for sure.
If she ain't a lawyer, then I don't want to hear from her.
Man.
Mr. Pearson, turn a light on. We're conducting business, sir.
I'm listening.
All right, so we can see from this particular video here that this brother is, he's under his mother's coattails and all this kind of stuff, right? So I wanted to talk about, just weakness that we got. Where do we get these weak brothers from? Where do we get these weak men from? Where are they coming from? How did they get here? What's going on? How come nobody's taking control of their lives? Come they're sitting up under their mother's coattails? How come they're indecisive? If you ask a lot of ladies, when they talk about men with feminine attributes and all that, when you dig into what they're actually talking about, they're talking about men who can't make decisions, men who are mama's boys, men who are just ill-equipped, not equipped to make decisions, to be leaders, to be protectors, to be providers, who don't forward think, who don't take control, who are not assertive, don't say what they mean, don't mean what they say, they're wishy-washy. Where does this come from? How do we get here? And again, then the other part about it is, as we can see sometimes, of course, this is a short clip, can't make a complete pronouncement about this guy, but sometimes what this does is I'm playing with the thing here. So what this does is that it creates this idea of where you got to overcompensate for your lack of masculinity. Let me say it again. When you have a lack of masculinity, then they come off and want to front like they're tough. And this is where we get a lot of the unfortunate violence that goes on within our communities, right? They don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to course correct. They don't know how to solve issues, problems. They don't know how to do any of that, right? If anybody's wondering, they were not blowing at me. They don't know how to do any of that type of stuff, right? They don't know how to make any type of assertive actions. They don't know how to engage in conflict resolutions, all of that stuff that we're looking for in this modern so-called times, right? So where did it come from? How did it get here? Well, I think it's very, very evident that far too many of them are being raised without any type of masculine presence within their life. Far too many men are being raised without masculine presence in their life. And when you don't get the masculine presence, you don't learn how to engage in conflict resolution. You don't learn how to take control. You don't learn how to make decisions or be decisive. You don't learn how to conduct themselves or conduct yourself. If this is you as a man, and that means being decisive, that means being stoic, that means thinking about what you're saying, being calculating risks, calculating options, right? This is where we get a lot of the shootings from, right? These people are not, I've been watching a lot of videos about these people who's, maybe I even play a video here, about people, breaking down, if I can find one of the videos in particular, when his brother gets into prison and he breaks down, or the first time he's been locked up, right? It's all cute when you're outside. It's all cute when you're outside, flexing for the girls, flexing for your dudes, repping your hood. It's all cute until it comes time to pay the piper. It's all cute, right? But we don't have men who are being raised to understand, to keep their hands to themselves. The best way to solve a problem isn't necessarily digging knives out of our bags and stabbing people. It's not engaging in violence on the street corners, shooting one another because we have an issue. It's none of that. It's none of that. It's none of that. So those are the type of actions of weak men. Those are the type of actions that weak men engage in, that they employ. They don't understand how to use the words. They don't understand calculating risks. They don't understand being thoughtful. They don't understand the consequences of their actions, what's going to happen tomorrow. They're not thinking the long term. They don't see anything going on more than today. The only thing they see is today. They're not thinking about tomorrow. What is tomorrow going to bring? What's going to happen with that? What's my life going to be? What are my chances about creating a future? Unfortunately, this is not the way that they think. And we have to change that so they can understand the consequences of their actions. We have to get them around male mentors, male uncles, male mentors and who can give them guidance, give them direction, who can take control. Listen, I was the product of a single mother. My mother raised 2 boys, but we had a fairly strong family unit. We had lived in a 3-family house, and on the first floor was my cousin, who was and is still older than I. I had uncles. I went to the boys' club. I went to summer camp. I talked about the church that I went to. Strong deacons who were themselves doing good for themselves. This is what's missing from these weak men who can't make decisions, who are soft on the inside but hard on the outside. Almost like fried chicken, right? Probably eating too much of it. Soft and crunchy on the outside, right? That's this tough, rough exterior. Then next thing you know, they're really soft on the inside because they don't understand the complexities of the world. They don't understand that your actions have consequences. They don't understand that. And if they do, then they become indoctrinated and enculturated into a society. I'm not talking about the over broader city or U.S. society. I'm talking about their community, their environment, their culture that says, and unfortunately, I'm not one of those who disconnects myself from the culture, but there's some aspects of it that got to change. And one of the biggest things we got to change, we got to stop celebrating single parent households. We got to stop celebrating. We got to bring shame back. We got to shame people who are engaged in single parenthood. Not that it's their fault, but we got to make better. We all have to make better decisions. Guys have to decide to stick around. Have to decide better about who you stick your thing into. If that woman is that woman worthy? Do you want this woman to raise your kids? This is part of the forward-thinking process that we have to engage on. And when you look at a woman, you have to decide whether this woman is worthy of raising children. And in particular, your children. Just because she got a big butt and smile and you're looking for these physical attributes doesn't mean that she has the mental capacity, the emotional intelligence, and the patience and the forward thinking that I'm talking about most of them talking to men, but does she have it to raise children, right? Because she's going to help to raise a generation of people who are going to engage in the very type of behavior that this video is meant to address. And if you're not going to be around there, you come from a family that doesn't engage in or process or celebrate being there, you got to change your thinking about that. You got to change your thinking about that. This is one of the biggest things that I think is destructive that what's going on in our community, unfortunately. And when we celebrate these types of situations, the church I grew up in, the church type that I grew up in, at first, if there was a unwed pregnant mother, single mom to be, kid on the way, they wouldn't allow any type of singing in the choir. Can't be on the usher board. You can't participate. Then slowly and eventually, because it was a shaming tactic. Slowly, eventually, that eroded. And I think that a part of the logic, and I can remember hearing these conversations, because we're shaming the women who are obviously pregnant, but we're not shaming the guys who got them pregnant. Now, I think there's a little bit of an argument that can be made for that. But the problem is that if you're not dealing with a guy who's in church, what can the church do to bring this guy to heel and shame him? It's a legitimate question. I'm not saying that, and we all know the guy shouldn't be scot-free. That's not my argument. My argument isn't to bash women or shame the women, but how do we get the men to be responsible? How do we get the men to be responsible and to be participants in their children's lives? Another thing that I don't like is this idea I guess it's a new and possibly growing phenomenon where women are just going to partner up, and they're defining as women with their children, and they're just going to raise children and this, that, and the other. And they're going to, a couple of sisters, maybe your aunt, your cousin, all get together, buy a house, and you're just going to raise the kids together. I mean, if there was a definition or recipe for disaster for a cultural lineage, I don't know what could be more, what could demonstrate that more. I don't know how you would demonstrate that anymore. I mean, because presumably there's going to be male children there, right? Children are not just little young girls. Children means boys and girls. So are we really going to try to develop an environment, a community where boys don't see masculine presence? Number one, you want those same boys to grow up and become fathers that they've never seen, become mentors that they've never seen, presumably. And even if they, right, and so you got these young kids, 7, 8, 9, you want them to be mentored by people 25, 30 years old, by the coaches and people at the church and community activists and all this kind of stuff, right? But who raised those community activists? And a lot of guys now are saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't know any percentages about guys who are not doing it, but I know some of the spaces that I follow, they're saying they're not doing that. They're not reaching back because you didn't want us, because you kicked us out, because you didn't fight for us, for numerous aspects that are going on. And of course, women will say, "We've been fighting. We've always fought for you. We want our brother. We love." Okay, we're at an impasse with this arguing back and forth. You weren't helping me. I want your help. You weren't helping us. You weren't fighting for us. You took the economic deal that was, the man in the house rule, and as a result of that, And years ago, as a result of that, there's generations that are growing up with an animosity and anger towards black men, toward our men. And the next thing you know, we're in a situation here in 2025 that is not healthy for any of us. And then now you got women saying, okay, we don't need the men at all. We're going to continue on this path since we've had a fairly successful life without men. We're going to keep on with that. But you're going to raise more men to grow up in a home and not think it's essential to be a part of their kids' lives. It's not essential. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand that logic. And as everyone, well, not everyone, but as many people are putting forward, and I am one of the people who are putting forward, a person who's looked at criminal justice, crime rates, and recidivism rates, and all this type of stuff. All this stuff, the criminal justice world. These are all sociological problems and psychological problems that we have in a broader culture. And we have to, if you want to solve and reduce budgets and criminal justice and build less jails and prisons and reform and rehabilitation processes and community incarceration and community rehabilitation, all these different efforts that people have. Nobody's ever taken a look at the crime rate, the family sociological underpinnings of all this, right? And it's all in the literature. It's all in the literature. You can't get around the fact that children who grow up without a father are more prone to violence, mental health, and all these other issues that we probably heard 1,000 times that I'm not going to get into. And I try not to make these overly academic, but this is an issue. And when we look at guys who are in trouble, as the first video that I showed, a guy who is in trouble, dealing with what he's dealing with, suffering from what he's suffering from, he's sitting there in front of his mama, and his mama's chiming in, and this is the problem. Mama keeps chiming in. Mama keeps chiming in. Mama's here, mama to the rescue. Fathers, in particular, will let you fall down, scrape your knee, will allow you to try and to fail, and then talk to you about your failure, and then see what we can do about the failure in order so you don't continue to fail for the next time. It's about learning. You cannot put your kids into a box. You cannot bubble wrap them. You have to let them go out there, try and fail until they eventually succeed. Try and fail until they eventually succeed. So that's what I want. I really, I listen to the ladies when they say there's not a lot of good men, there's not a lot of choices to choose from, whether it's the college situation, whether it's the education situation, whether it's the drive, the passion, the manhood, the leadership type of thing. I listen to what they're saying. And one of the things I'm asking a question is, where do these weak men come from? They come from single parent homes, and they come from fathers who are not present, active, and whatever. And yes, there is research saying that black men are the most active, even though we may not be in a home. But listen, you got to be in the home too. We got to take a look at this, right? You got to be in the home because, one of the biggest things that I didn't want to be a weekend dad, seeing my kids 4 days out of a month. That's crazy. Then you got mentors mentoring your kids, but I know everybody don't think this way, right? Mentors, even male mentors coming in, mentoring your kids, and you got step parents coming in, maybe, possibly. It's a mess that we have to do something about as a cultural entity to figure out, our marriage rates, number one, divorce rates, number two, and our parental involvement, number three. And we got to take a look at, our celebration of what is right and proper and the reward system that we are setting up. And I just can't get behind. I just cannot and will not get behind this nonsense that we got going on here. I just can't. We got too many weak men. We are as the minority population. We were obviously the most prevalent at one time, I believe, post-slavery and all that, until they started importing more people. Now we're, of course, doing other things to us to make sure that we didn't multiply. And then now we're in this situation where we've been surpassed by the Hispanic population, Latin population, and we're continuing to move down the socioeconomic ladder collectively, which means our votes won't matter, which means they're not going to listen to us. They being the politicians. Listen, we got to get if we're going to survive, we got to get it together. Otherwise, we just might as well just let it go and just stop talking. Otherwise, we just might as well just let it go and just stop talking about it. It's over. We had a good run. Say goodbye to our food and to our cuisine and all that, and because nobody, our music, all the cultural attributes that we have, our music, our food, our philosophy, our way of thought, is all the result of all the things we've gone through. And we've gone through all these things together. And now we're in a place where we can't get together, we can't see eye to eye, and we got people doing this, people doing that, and we just don't get it anymore. We just don't get it anymore. So, I don't know. This was just a rant. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. This is just my thoughts about it. We got to do something about these weak men. These weak men who are being raised in homes and raised without proper guidance from male role models, who are going to schools, who are very gynocentric, and they're just feminized all the way around. And then when they get into a situation and they're running into problems, they're just weak. They're weak. They're weak. Hit me in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Much love and peace.